Hollywood stars who went all in for Hillary Clinton say the next woman who tries to shatter highest glass ceiling needs something. Clinton seemed to lack minus authenticity. Actor and director Tony Goldwyn, who plays the leader of the free world on the hit television show Scandal, told Politico editor Carrie Budoff-Brown that Clinton is an immensely talented leader. "I believe that Hillary would have been an extraordinary president," Goldwyn said. But he added that the former Secretary of State, Senator and First Lady, wasn't a natural candidate. In the latest podcast episode of Women Rule, the TV star, a vocal surrogate for Clinton's 2016 campaign, gave credit to President Donald Trump for his unvarnished style, and said future Democratic candidates could learn from the Manhattan businessman's political gifts. "He's just himself in all situations and unapologetically so," Goldwyn said. "And as horrifying as I find it, obviously, it appeals to a tremendous amount of people." During a separate interview on the podcast, Adrienne Elrod, the Clinton campaign's former director of strategic communications and surrogates, also emphasized the need for female 2020 candidates to be themselves. "Be yourself. Be authentic," Elrod counseled any woman looking to run in the future. But after the bruising loss of Hollywood's favored candidate, the stars acknowledged that there's still an uphill battle for women in politics, no matter how genuine she is. "We're starting to see how very clearly sexist this country is. Still," said actress and model Jaime, another Clinton surrogate. "It's only now," King said, "that's starting to understand really what women are up against, in the sense of how women are perceived, and the ridiculous nature of the questions that they have to field." In this episode of Women Rule, Politico talks with King, Elrod, and Goldwyn about post-election emotions are still raw nearly 100 days into Trump's first term. Elrod reflects on what the Clinton political operation could have done differently, while Goldwyn tells the story of his Nov. 8 experience, and how he found out from Ted Danson and Gene Sperling that his candidate was about to lose. Here are the highlights of the interviews. First with King and Elrod, and then with Goldwyn. Jaime King and Adrienne Elrod. 4.0 King discusses why she became actively involved in supporting Hillary Clinton, and how it sometimes negatively affected her career. "You realize, okay, if I don't start speaking up, if I don't start standing up for something, and for what's going on right now in our country, at what point would I feel there's something off with that?" the actress says. 8.26 Elrod gives a glimpse of how Hillary Clinton's campaign fared in the days following the election, and she offers some thoughts on what they could have improved during the campaign. "It literally will go down as one of the worst days, certainly, of my life thus far," Elrod told Politico. Of the campaign's mistakes, Elrod pointed to their use of surrogates as one strategy that could have been improved. "I think we could have spent more time deploying surrogates in some of these states like Michigan and Wisconsin, where we didn't have a full-fledged surrogate operation, at least in the general," she said. "I think we could have spent more time in those states." 13.15 King talks about how traumatic the Trump presidency has been so far, and the fatigue she already feels because of the White House. There's a point where you're just like, I can't call another senator, the actress says. I'm so tired of signing petitions. I don't want to stand with a sign in my hand. I don't want to take to the streets anymore. I just want to scream. 1727 King and Elrod offer up their best advice for women considering a presidential bid minus, or any campaign for higher office minus in 2020. 8:55 p.m. The duo contemplates whether the U.S. will see a female president in the near future. Tony Goldwyn. 2010 as the podcast's first male guest. The actor, director, and Scandal star gives his take on why men should be active in discussing women in politics. We are the partners and fathers and sons and brothers of every woman on the planet, Goldwyn says. 25:44 Goldwyn weighs in on the perfect storm of horror that led to Clinton's defeat in November, and posits the former Secretary of State was not a natural candidate. The actor also went on to note the large dose of misogyny he felt also affected the election. 28 Goldwyn's thoughts on what a woman can do better in a 2020 bid for higher office. Be yourself. I think that's one of Trump's gifts, the Democratic supporter says. He's just himself in all situations and unapologetically so. And as horrifying as I find it, obviously, it appeals to a tremendous amount of people. 33:22 Goldwyn describes the sick feeling in his stomach while waiting the election night results at the Javits Center in New York City, where Clinton's rally was scheduled. He chats about his foreshadowing conversations with Ted Danson and Gene Sperling from that night. He also discusses the phone calls he had with his two daughters, evening following Clinton's loss. 40. The actor comments on how empowering women on the big screen can often affect public perception of women in politics. Shows like Scandal, or Madam Secretary, or just endless examples of movies where you have powerful, charismatic women, that's an example, can sometimes really have an impact on the real world, Goldwyn says. Conversely, the more women are in power in Washington and in corporate America, that influences what happens in every industry and in our pop culture, in our shows and movies that are put out and the stories that are told.